Motion to approve minutes.
So moved. Go ahead.
Started early.
Motion and a second. Any discussion of the minutes? Any changes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Public input. Public? Nothing? All right. Committee and authority members report.
Is that where we go into the CIP?
Well, we can do that now or do it later. I really don't care.
Your call.
Let's do it now.
All right. Paul and I have worked with Phil to put together the 5-year CIP, the update on that. This CIP was distributed to the group a week or so ago for comments and recommendations. Didn't hear any comments or anything previously. Any discussion, any questions you guys have, we'll try to answer.
I'll add just information that you guys will see that's November 16 at the top. The first year in there is 2018 because it's the next federal fiscal year. So that's July 1 for DOT and October 1st for FAA. So there's projects that you'll have, like there's a reimbursement you have in progress that will happen in between, but this is essentially for the next federal fiscal year.
And the idea is that the 2018 is meant to be a working list where the remainder of the years are kind of a wish list and placeholders so that as we move forward, we've got some idea of where we want to take the airport. So as you look at that 2018, the top priority is and has been the property acquisition for that west taxiway. We've identified a new rotating beacon and a tower relocation on that is something we should do from a safety perspective for the airport. Our current beacon is not working. Randy, is it working at all now?
No, sir. It's got red sparklies in it.
So it's not working at all. So
It's rotating, but
Have you climbed up and hit it with a hammer?
those red sparklies, you can
we've been throwing rocks at it.
That's a good idea.
So,
I like the way you think. I like that.
but yeah, that's an operative. So it is indeed a safety issue. So we need to push that one forward if we can. The rest of those are things that have been on here in the past. The one comment that I will make on the North Hangar area site prep and paving, that's a part of the hangar project, the T-hangar project. And if we move forward on the T-hangar project, obviously we need to do that. There's an option to wait until we get federal approval or to roll that into the financing, awaiting federal reimbursement at that point and pay down that debt. Well, we've looked at the cash flows and the projections on the loan for the T-hangars. We included that work in the cash flow projection and we still cash flow very positively. So that's the reason those are line items in there. And the North Hangar buildings are not shown with any federal reimbursement because that's not a reimbursable item. That has to be local funding. Bill, anything you'd like to add to that?
You know, just like Ed said, the projects in the first year are a little further down the funding funnel. So there is applications and engineers, there's a bunch of paperwork that go with those, but we'll take care of all that. So just as Ed said, that's the near-term focus. The other things are just, you're just kind of estimating those. You'll have a chance to update those in the future.
Any questions, any comments?
I'd just like to say I really appreciate you two jumping in. I know it was short term with several meetings and a lot of work, so
Happy to do it.
appreciate the effort.
Paul and I were happy to work with Paul and his team, with the team, with Phil's team to get this thing pulled together. If there are no questions or comments, I think we need a motion to accept and to second if you guys are in agreement, because this has to be signed off and submitted in the very near future. So we need to present this then to the commissioner for, I think he's the one that signs this for final signature on it.
Yep,
So
exactly what will happen is the applications in the first year, we'll get his signature on those. We spoke with him about the survey, getting that survey to develop that marketing plan, and then teed up that this is, obviously we have a deadline in a month, so So he's teed up to sign. So you're doing great as far as being ahead of the curve to meet the deadline by the end of the month. If you approve it tonight, we'll have everything in before Thanksgiving.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this.
Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report is in front of you. I passed those out a moment ago. On a note on this, I've given you two reports. One report is the report that Fay provides the numbers straight out of the county books. The report that has the yellow highlighted headers on it is a report that David Howe had previously put together and had done so to look at this in a slightly different manner than the county books show. My question for you guys is, which of these two reports would you prefer to see? If it's the report from Fay, that's dead easy. She provides it, I review it. We challenge anything that needs to be looked at and revisited. There is a backside to that sheet as well done. And if you like the other numbers, I'm happy to continue putting that report together. The real differences here are that there's some modifications or adjustments made to the report that Fay provides after the fact. If there are debits or credits that have to be done post-closing of the month, she goes back and does those, and that never gets caught on her report. You wouldn't see it pulled out. Where with the consolidated report that David put together, it does begin to show up in there.
What kind of stuff is she going back and catching?
You know, it would be a ticket for an expense that didn't make its way over, and typically that would be the taxes, or one of those things that tend to lag a little bit behind, sales taxes. I don't think there's any gross changes being made. They're pretty minor things. You know, it takes me about 20 minutes to put the other sheet together each time. I'm okay doing that if it's of value to you guys. If it isn't, then I don't want to put the 20 minutes in. We use Fay's report and call it done.
Well, that stuff's it's getting caught up on the year-to-date stuff anyway.
On the year-to-date, it's accurate anyway.
Simpler is better, guys. We're all busy.
Agreed. That's why I bring it up and ask. So based on that, I'll dive in a little bit to the report. As you see, we're doing pretty well on revenues. We are not to the year-to-date plan on the income side of things. A lot of that hinges around fuel, which Randy, tell me if you will there, the idea is that fuel is costing less, so we're selling it for less. Our margins, gross margins are still the same, but we're seeing lower dollars of revenue on similar or better gallons. Is that a fair statement, Randy?
That's a fair statement, yes.
Okay, and the second thing is that we did have put in the plan for some revenue from the new T hangers. Obviously, we're not going to see that since they're not completed. So we're definitely going to fall short on that, but we have no expense side on that either. Right now, net income is looking pretty good for the year as compared to plan. And overall, we seem to be functioning pretty in a positive manner. Any other comments or questions on the financials? Thanks very much.
We appreciate the report. We'll show them as reviewed. Airport manager's report.
So we had a fairly active October. If you look at our sales, they're really above average for the fall, over 6,000 gallons of Jet A, and on hand at the beginning of the month. We sold almost 3,000 gallons. We're doing really well on traffic. 100 low lead was above average for the last month, over 3,000 gallons for 100 low lead.
You're welcome.
Like he just said, again, not a lot of profit, but a lot of fuel sold. Jet A is our money maker, so we're doing the best we can. We started out, handed out the almost half a month for November, and we're right on track to have a good November as well. Our beginning balance for November was a little over 6,050 gallons, Jet A, 5,512 for 100 low lead. So it looks like we may not have to have fuel until right before Christmas. That being said, 100 low lead is dropped in price into the 290s buy, and Jet A's remaining constant at around $1.89. But a lot of activity, a lot of fall festivals, a lot of people flying. The good thing about for us is we had some excellent weather. Horrible drought, but great flying weather. So, except for our AWAS indicates 1,500 mist, and that's the smoke. But all the pilots in and out, it breaks out at 3-4, and they're able to get in without any problems at all. So we've had a pretty good, had a good October, and I look forward to a sterling November. That's all I got.
Randy, do we have any options to get that beacon going for the time being? I know that may be a question for Phil, I don't know.
The only other option that I've been considering is call that Tony Bird, and it's gonna be about between $1,000 and $2,000, depending on how fast they can get ahead.
Kind of a safety thing. I
Yeah,
mean.
it's a noted item.
Are we no-tammed out on that? Is that
No.
showing up?
Gotta
We
get
need to
it
get
out.
that filed.
Get it out in the morning, and I'll call Tony Bird tomorrow, put in a work order. Every time he climbs that pole, it's $1,000.
Yeah, I hate spending the bad money.
Especially knowing we're getting a new beacon.
Yeah.
But in a year, it's not, I mean, it's gonna be an item for a while.
Right.
So I mean, what's your guys' thought? I mean, to me, safety items are safety items.
Well, we've got a repair budget, and
Yes.
that falls under that repair budget, so I agree we should get it done.
As a heads up, in March, the FAA is gonna do our annual inspection. Trees set back from center line, brush cleared, lights working, et cetera, et cetera. So it's around the second week of March, more to follow. They'll give us a punch card of basically what they look at. And it's just clean and neat, and all the lights on and everything working. So, yes, we'll get that beacon up before the end of this month and be up and running.
Phil, do you have anyone that
Yeah.
works on those things?
Yeah, we actually spoke about it, Ed and Colin and all of us. You can, on some of these other, you can go out front, get it just the beacon head. Well, it'd be 10 to 12 grand for that. Thing is to make it reimbursable, you gotta get quotes and do some things like that. So to have it up immediately,
and
probably
bids.
need to do that. We can probably get something in about 30 days related to the quotes and have that approved. Most of those folks have those heads in stock.
Excellent.
Well, you know,
We'll probably do that.
How
maybe-
fast could we get approval on that from the state? Do you think we can get that done in
I
that period of
think-
time?
I think you would have it, you could probably have a new beacon head on there in about 60, you'd be fronting it, so you're outlaying the cash for it. You'd
Okay.
probably have it on there in about 60 days, I bet. So if
So
you
we
wanna
would
do
have
it-
to front that, we wouldn't have
No,
Fed and state approvals on it.
no, you'd have approval for reimbursement, you'd have to pay it up front.
I mean, guys, we're not making tons, but we're making money.
I was gonna say, if we get approval for reimbursement, I think we can go to the county and justify that, because
The
now we're
safety
talking
item, absolutely.
60 to 90 days, or maybe 180 days for reimbursement.
Sure.
But at that point, it is a safety item, and we can no-tam that out for 30 days or something or 45 days to go through this, rather than spending the money for Bird. Because it's gonna cost as much for Bird or somebody to set that head
Oh,
as it is
yes.
to repair this one.
Yeah.
How long has it been out now, guys?
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, truthfully, if we no-tam it out, you can still fly in and out of the airport.
Oh, yeah.
It's not an issue that the airport is closed after dark.
Sure.
It's simply that we need to let the world know, the aviation world know, that don't look for the beacon, you're gonna have to find the airport otherwise. So it's not undue risk in
Right.
no-tamming it out for 45 or 60 days.
It's not
Save
safety
that
of
money.
flight, it's just an annoyance.
Right. So my suggestion would be to go the reimbursement route, try and get that pushed through, get the quotes we need to do it fast,
Okay.
and see if we can't save that $2,000 repair bill for the installation of the new head.
Well, I mean, that's really a guess, because we don't know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, exactly,
We
but
put a new bulb in, and he's climbed the tower, Tim's climbed the tower 3 times already. Sorry.
like it up there, huh?
I didn't mean for you to watch it. Last time we found a wasp nest. It was a quick departure.
Yes. So Randy,
The only
what
other
we
thing
need to
is,
do to start searching on that that replacement.
Basically, we can just go ahead and do it with approval from the airport authority. We'll just go ahead and drive that thing forward. We'll let Faye know that we got approved from the authority, and then you can call him back on the back and just verify that.
We'll
that
put
we're
it in a
driving that.
motion and vote on it,
Should
get
we
it in the record.
discuss it with them before we
Do you-
go forward?
I think this issue, because it's a safety issue, I think we're fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll be set up again, you'll get 90% back, so you can let her know that it's also,
So-
you're only at
It's not
10%.
The 10% that we'll have to ultimately be out of pocket, I'm sure falls within our budget. anyway.
Exactly.
Oh, yes, we have a
You
budget for
do,
that.
and one thing I'll point out, on the CIP, you saw it on there, it's a tower and the beacon. That's ultimately when it gets moved and all that, so this is just for the beacon head.
But putting the beacon head on, we weren't replacing the tower, we were gonna potentially
Correct.
move the tower. So the
Correct.
beacon
And
head
repaint it.
replaced now is
Yeah.
not wasted money,
No,
it's simply
it just comes off of
an
that.
expense incurred early.
Absolutely. So you are already planning to do it anyway, even if you hadn't had that issue?
The only thing I'll tell you is that tower's been there a long time.
Yeah,
Pretty solid though, I gotta say.
That tower has been there since the early 80s, over 40. It may have been there when the airport was put up in the 70s. It's been there a long time.
Wasn't that the one Howard Ray swapped with Calhoun?
Don't remember. You're older than I am.
Oh, thank you. Congrats, all.
so do we need a motion on that, or are we
Yes,
good to go?
please.
I make a motion that we go to bid, get the bids, and get that rotating beacon replaced with a new head, only the beacon.
So moved. Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? Mr. Manager, anything else?
That's all I have. Oh, one other thing. Tony Bird's coming out to look at our pappy lights on the 3-4 end. Did you notice coming in the pappy light on the right side?
I did yesterday
No.
when I
Okay.
came in.
We got Tony Bird coming out to fix that this week.
I was gonna mention that to you after the meeting, but that's all right.
If I got dirty laundry, we'll air it. Okay. That's all I have.
Engineers report.
We got just a couple of things. One is we had the Georgia Airport Association conference a couple weeks ago. In there, some things you can expect. One is there's going to be an update to the state system plan, which DOT does about every 5 to 10 years. There'll basically be a questionnaire coming out sometime in the next 6 months. You'll receive it, or probably Randy's going to receive a questionnaire. It talks about facilities you have and what you anticipate. We help fill all that out. It'll take them about a year to complete that study. In there, it will show some goals for the airport longer term. It's kind of almost along with the CIP. It'll show, they'll project out based aircraft that they think you'll have in the next 10 years and out to a 20-year period. It helps us with some funding justification because it's impartial, it's an independent thing. So you won't really see anything ultimately completed on that for at least a year, but you'll see that questionnaire come out. So it's a standard thing that they do every few years. That'll be coming out. Also, Randy, you may have got an email today about they're talking about the aviation fuel tax, and some of that, sets up those additional funds. It would be very positive for us. They're going to do a webinar on how the state's going to be tracking that and what's going to be expected of the airports. That's just being put together now as far as that plan. There's a webinar, they sent an email out today, we've already signed up for that, so we'll take care of all that, give you the information. I think it's going to be on the 18th, but if anybody would like that, you guys send an RSVP and they send you the code, so if you'd like to do that, we can forward you the email, you can sign up for that as well. But I think that's on the 18th of November. And then also, it likely, you had Scott Sarrett as your DOT project manager, switched to Jim Castleberry. Jim was retired FAA part-time. It's likely you'll be getting a new person. I think they're gonna hire somebody full-time. I don't know who that person is yet. Then they kind of reshuffle the airports, but it doesn't matter. All the CIP stuff will go into Jim and Scott still. Scott's still gonna be there. I think Jim's still gonna be there as well, so we'll just keep sending that. But as that new person is determined, then we'll go meet with them or have them up and have a meeting and just get them familiar with everything at the airport and the positive things that you're looking at. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Old business. Two things I had on the list is, Ed Ford, did the letter go out on
The
the,
letter has not gone out because we were waiting to get through the CIP to see where we were for an update on the date. I'll freshen up the date on that and it'll go out later this week.
okay.
So that'll be done.
Second item is there are triple wide, that we're hoping to get moved one day. first of all, let me back up and say, didn't have commissioner's remarks because he obviously isn't here. He was at the funeral home tonight, so we gave him a pass for the meeting. Commissioner did tell me though that Fay had money set aside based on what our bid was and was waiting on the number for the concrete footers. I think Randy's gotten one estimate on that.
Yeah.
So we should be a big step closer to that actually happening.
Can we have that information all pulled together so we can know this for the next airport authority meeting? Is that a reasonable timeline?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think it's the county's desire, mostly from the recreation side, that
To get it done
to
too.
get it done.
I think so too. And we've got an opportunity there to end up with a far better facility than we have today. The one we have now is a bit of a safety hazard. So,
We need to talk about where the location was.
you know,
I'm good.
yeah, let's do talk about that. a
That
little bit.
long-term parking lot?
Yeah, if you want to update us on that, Randy, we talked about putting this to the west of the two T hangars that are there now.
Yes.
And for multiple reasons, it's been decided that it would be better suited in the long-term parking lot area of the current facility.
Yes, our gravel parking lot. Since there's a handicap accessible awning on the back side of it, we're going to front load the trailer up to the front, parking along those red and white barriers, parking barriers, put it up front there so it's easier to see the runways, and then we'll have all the parking in the rear so they'll have access to go up the handicap ramp accessible. Then we'll have plenty of parking from almost the mailbox all the way over to almost the rotating beacon. So we won't lose it. We'll gain parking and we'll gain taxiway area for the aircraft to get closer to the pumps. It'll be cheaper for the move and less risky on relocating the computer lines and the Fieldmaster switches.
So you can use the existing septic that's there versus having to try and hook up to the sewer system, which we're not sure how it's hooked up on the taxiway area.
That's true, and we do have the client that will, either he may replace it for us and give us a new one since the other one was busted years ago.
Get you further away from the fuel
Yes.
tank.
Yes, sir.
Will you meet the minimum setback at that point?
It's 100 feet off of the side of the tank, right?
Right.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, good.
All right. Any other discussion there? All right. Any new business?
One thing I didn't mention about under new business, be working with Ed on that marking, doing a drawing, essentially a layout from a survey you already have for the west hangar area that has kind of right-of-way lines drawn on it, and then the safety area line off of the taxiway, so you know what's leasable in that area.
I guess this falls under new business in addition to that. In order to lease that property, we've got to have something that shows us generally how much square footage somebody would be leasing if they actually took a lease over there. So what's the setback from the center line of the taxiway, center line of the road, or the edge of the road? And in addition to that, I've worked with Phil a bit to try and get some lease rates for comparable airports in the area. And the lease rates are significantly different than where ours are today. As we pull this full thing together, I'll get it out to the authority. I've updated the commissioner so he's aware of where these rates are falling. But we need to do a little bit of work to our lease document so we can make this attractive and get those first tenants on that property. So just an FYI, in new business, I am undertaking a little bit of a revision on the lease document.
I can report to you that there was a brief discussion at the Development Authority meeting that there is a tenant that is interested in going at the end of the west taxiway.
Okay.
Phil's actually working a little bit with that person, so.
Is that an aviation business or non-aviation?
He's an aviator that probably, you could say he's got a non-aviation business. And Probably looking at building a big enough space for his plane as well as maybe one spot to rent out. So, but we'll have probably more definitive feedback at next month's meeting.
The challenge with that would simply be that we don't own that as an airport. If it is an aviation business, it would end up through the fence, so that we gotta be cognizant of that. If it's a non-aviation, then the development authority should be able to lease that now.
The question I asked, and Phil wasn't at that meeting because I told him we didn't need him there, but I'll ask it. I'll tell him the answer that was given and he can see if he agrees. Yeah, not,
Start nodding.
yeah, start nodding. I asked that question, would that affect our reimbursement at all for that section if we go ahead and
No,
do this?
and just like Ed was saying, is those lease rates now, so over time, fair market values, lease rates.
Right.
So what you're looking at now is something that's much lower than what it was a few years ago when it was done originally. So those, as long as those rates that were shared with Ed is what's incorporated in there, because that's a blanket across no matter what's happening, so that keeps you grant eligible, you're hitting all the grant insurances and all that, so we can, make sure that's happening, but Ed has that current stuff.
Keep us on the right side of the
Yep.
rules and regulations so we don't lose any reimbursement. And I know that you can lease property for non-aviation use, but it has to be at fair market value is the only stipulation.
Yeah, and
that I
this
understand.
one, and so that person, and you've had people that have looked previously, have had ideas previously about going in there and do something like a little layout or some form of back and forth. But you are rapidly, you're getting reimbursed in chunks for that. So by the time that thing gets worked out, you're probably just about gonna be, the very back end of that horseshoe is where the retention pond and all that, and not really leasable.
Right.
So pretty close to the next reimbursement, you'll be fill up the area that you can do something with. So, but what you got lease rate wise, and maybe it'll be something, we can just talk about that in December, if we get that sketch done, that might be something to show everybody, because that combined with the lease rate stuff and all that. And then Phil Landrum had prepared several years ago, working with an aviation attorney out of PDK, Alan Armstrong, a lease to use. It never got used, and the rates in there are from that time frame. So Ed had a copy, forwarded that, we looked through, there's not really anything there that grant insurances have changed on.
Okay.
So that's okay, other than what Phil Landrum was, so whatever tweaking in there, apply those lease rates, and that's a great document to use to go forward with.
Be nice to get somebody on that property. Yes.
And this person will do it right as
Good.
well, so.
Good.
Do you think it's prudent to have that lease reviewed again, since it has been?
It is prudent to have it reviewed, and I'd like to schedule a time with Phil Landrum to run through that. I've got a copy that I've made some comments on, and I have given that lease to 4 people who are reviewing it for potential of renting or leasing that property. And my comment to them was, we need to go through a review on it. Put your comments on, bring them all back to me, and we'll negotiate and get something worked out. And I'd rather do it in a real-world environment if at all possible, because while we may have a lease, often those things are negotiated on a case-by-case basis. So,
There's some things unique to each one that you can still meet grant assurances and do, and you're still being apples to apples with everybody. And one other thing about what Ed was saying in that, because the road, there's one little straight section, but it kind of meanders in that, so that sketch helps you with any individual looking at a certain spot, the depth that they have. So being in one spot versus sliding over may work for them or not work for them.
Right.
So having that sketch will be helpful to allow that to go forward.
so. And there are a lot of things in there that I want to talk about, but I'd rather put a list together and do it coherently versus randomly here. So.
All right. Anything else to come before the authority? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.